In this three-part series, let's look at the pie chart and its alternatives. There's in fact only one alternative, which is called a tree map. When it comes to pie chart, there is a paradox here. The business people, they love pie chart. So most of the reports, you will see all some version of the pie chart always. This is what we have been taught to use in consulting, also in management consulting, quite a bit. But then came this whole parade of experts, visualization experts, which criticize pie chart and who swear that they will never use pie chart. To me, there has to be a balance. Pie chart has its own disadvantages, but used sensibly, pie chart can be a superior alternative to conveying the message of composition. Really, if when we think of a pie, it's very clear there are slices going on. If you're looking at the whole thing and then see how it is split up into pieces, pie chart definitely can be a winner, especially if we have a dimension with a few values, and one pie or one slice of the pie is actually very big. So in those cases, pie chart can be tremendously helpful in quickly conveying the meaning. So rather than taking a dogmatic view as to this is the chart and this is the best chart or this is the worst chart, as always, I recommend play with your data in Tableau and then see which one conveys the message better. So here are two alternatives to conveying the message of what we call the slice or parts of a whole or composition. It's all the same. Yeah. So before we get into how to build these charts in Tableau, first I wanted to show you both the possibilities as well as an alternative that a lot of experts suggest, and then tell you my opinion on which one conveys what message better, and also ask you to judge along the way which one would be suitable for your needs. And then in later parts, part 2 and 3, we'll get into building of how this is built. So now here is Tableau, a very simple chart which conveys gender balance in our workforce. So there are 220 employees, out of them 125 are male and 95 are female. I haven't done any sorting, I haven't tried to put percentages, except that I've put percentages in tooltip just to show you how this works. So almost 50, more than 50 percentage is male, and then 43 percentage is female. There seems to be a decent spread in terms of this. So in cases like this, does pie chart convey the information of composition, which is a bigger one, which is a smaller one? Yes, it does. It says this is just looking at the slice, we can know that this is more than 50 percentage and this is less than 50 percentage, a little less than. So this is clear. If you look at an alternative, so here is the alternative that a lot of people like. It's called Treemap. So rather than using the circle where the angle is a difficult thing for us to really understand or calculate, using a rectangle is easier on the eyes. That's what the visualization experts say. And you can see this one conveys the message, okay, this is 56 percentage and then this is 43 percentage. But to me, for a simple comparison between these two charts in a scenario like this, to me personally, pie chart conveys this message better as opposed to this. The other problem with tree maps is going to be when you use it in an executive audience setting. Most people have not seen this, so it will take time for them to get used to this. And for an item with just two dimension values like this is far better value of your time than trying to educate people on Treemap. Let's take a slightly more complex example, a few more values. So here is our superstore. So this time the question is, which region is the best performer? We are not necessarily asking for what's the composition of this, but the whole question is we want to see the best and the worst and what is the percentage of sales that is coming from them, right? So there are 4 regions here. Again, this is not really sorted in any way. By default in Tableau, this is not sorted. If you want to sort, you could do that. For example, I could click on this and sort it by the biggest one to the smallest one. This is something I recommend always. Start by sorting your pie chart so that the biggest slice is always in this 0 to the first quadrant, 90 degrees, that our eyes are typically getting into, right? Rather than making us wait and then figure things out. So this is one of the things. I have displayed labels. They don't look nice, they look crowded. I have just displayed labels so that you can see how this looks. So now let's go to the alternative, which is Treemap. Now this looks a little bit cleaner compared to the pie map, and then the real alternative, third alternative, especially when our thing is to answer the best performer versus the worst performer, is a bar chart. Now let's put all the three things together. Then let's ask which one conveys the best message in terms of which region is the best performer, as well as giving as a composition. If the single question is only ranking which is the best performer, then bar ultimately is the winner. There is no doubt bar conveys the message loudly and clearly. But then if we want to convey these things sum up to 100%, and then we are looking at a composition, in bar you cannot convey this despite labeling it clearly, percentage of total sales and all of this. A pie, just a look of it tells people that we are looking at a whole and a breakdown of the whole. That's the biggest benefit of pie that I see. Treemap is a slightly better representation of this, but even in a scenario like this with 4 slices, Treemap is still not the best one, again because it is new to a lot of people. And then these 4 squares, what is the size of them? This is much harder compared to this, at least in my eyes, right? So still pie seems to be the winner, especially if you are talking about displaying what is the composition percentage. Now let's go to something even more values, subcategory. We are talking about some 17 subcategories here. The pie looks ugly, you know. Don't think that this is the kind of chart I would recommend for you. Yeah, I've just put it and then even turned on the labels to increase the heat. This is the kind of charts I see in a lot of presentation, and these days I don't see it in my KPMG consulting days, when I used to sit through with other, even the biggest consultants, I don't want to name them, the management groups. I see pie charts like this. What information do they convey? I mean, it's an absolute piece of junk, really. So from that perspective, I can understand the hating of pie chart by a lot of experts, because this is the most misused chart, right? So whenever, here is the thumb rule I would recommend. If you have 5 to 7 dimension values, then pie chart can be good. The lesser the better, right? And then one clear winner, meaning one thing has a really big slice, then pie chart really conveys this. So even if you have 5 things and all of them are similar, 20%, 15%, pie may not convey the information that well. So think about the message, think about your actual data, and then decide what it is. So in this case, let me turn on the label to increase the heat and the confusion. And now let's go to Treemap. This looks a lot more palatable, right? So each box has its own color. If I turn off the labels, still we could figure out which are the biggest ones. There is some sense of what's going on. Labels make the job easier. And then here is the same one in bar. Again, the question is, if it is the ranking question, that which is the best performer, then bar is clearly the winner. But from a percentage of total parts of a whole relationship, then bar is probably not the winner. Now let's compare all the 3. So as I said, pie clearly loses out in a situation like this, right? So we can't even see all the values. Even if we see, it looks so ugly and little meaningless. So the pie is clearly out of the picture. So when it comes to bar, already these 17 values, you know, it's very hard to go from top to bottom. And if I am talking about more than 17 values, let's say 20 values, here I actually did a fitting of the view. If I leave it to standard, already scroll bars are appearing, right? So whereas in a Treemap, the whole thing is available in a single screen. I've done any fitting thing, and then things are logically at the top. The biggest items are at the top, and in a scenario like this makes a lot of sense. And Treemaps, in a situation like this where we have 15 values, I would prefer to use Treemaps, and it gets even better when we have even more values. Let me go to Treemaps, and then let's try to increase this instead of subcategories. So So let me put them on just detail so that all of them are having the same color. I don't want the color to expand. Let me put category color so that now we are seeing 3 categories. So now I am going to expand this. So now look at this. So now we have how many values? We have 265 values displayed here, right? So now I can clearly see which one, which subcategory, which one is the winner. I can even go down to the next level, which is product name, and this is 1850 values. And we can very clearly see there is one item which has so much of the sales, which is copiers here, and then the another item here, and another item here, and another item here. So things are very clear. So now let's try to go to a bar and then try to expand this, subcategory, manufacturer, and then product name. So look at this bar. Would we be able to make any sense of this bar? First, the bar, the percentages go haywire because of the calculation, even assuming I clear that, and then we are able to see this. If I sort this, I am still not able to get any sense of this. This bar is so unwieldy. Even if I remove this at the manufacturer level and try to sort it again, still, because of the sorting arrangement, how Tableau sorts once you have something to at the top and then the breakdown, the sorting does not really work properly. So compare this. So bar chart is clearly a mess. It does not really convey any information of whatever we want to convey. So in a situation like this, Treemaps is the favorite. So now let me tell you where I use heat map. In one of the previous videos, I told you where I used heat map. Sorry, I might be interchanging Treemap with heat map. So far whatever I said was Treemap. Yeah. So I said I use heat maps whenever I have a lot of values and then I want to display how things are done in a almost table kind of a way. When I don't have that kind of a constraint of having a table or a proper arrangement, and then the sizes could change, then I use Treemap. So when there are a lot of values, then both Treemaps and heat maps, which sound similar, they are both useful. So experiment and see which one conveys the message. When it comes to Treemap, it is good at conveying the message of composition. This is a percentage of this 100%. So, percentage of a whole thing. Whereas heat map is not for that kind of a message. So here is the final judgment according to me. So pies are very good when you want to use them with dimensions which have about 5 to 7 values, and then the values are not equally distributed or evenly distributed. There is some clear big slices, so it is good. So where is this useful in Tableau? In Tableau, when you want to filter things on the dashboard level, pie can be a great thing because it takes a small amount of space and it conveys the message, and this can be a great thing in terms of used properly in Tableau. And then the pie can also be used in a setting of small multiple to convey the message of how something is evolving over time. For example, if I take something like this and then I want to see how this is evolving over time. For example, let me break it down by department. Let me turn off the labels. Let me break it down by department, and then now let me see how this is doing across the years. So let me fit the view so that we could see. So now if I click on female, now I could actually focus my eyes and see how this composition is changing across the years. Yeah, in a situation like this, pie is definitely a gift. This is not a curse. Yeah, so it all depends on how you are using the same thing. So for example, if I take this one, turn off the labels, and then do that same thing here, break it down by department and then break it down by join date. So again you are able to see. So if I see female, how things are spreading versus male, how things are spreading. So if you compare these two now, right, so comparatively pie conveys the message much easier because we are used to pie, and a circle conveys the message of composition as a lot better than this square, especially when we have sizes and shapes which are changing all the while, like here, right? So the advice always when it comes to Tableau and learning and experimenting in Tableau is the same. Use your data, experiment and iterate through a number of charts to convey which one conveys the message better given your data. Yeah, so don't take anybody's word for this is the best chart, this is the worst chart. So having said having said that, so let's summarize again. Pie charts clearly are the winner when you have a small number of values, or when you want to show small multiples, how things are evolving over time. This is superior to stacked bars in a number of ways. Bars are clearly the winner when we want to compare only the ranking relationship, and then finally tree maps when we have too many values.